Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk about renewing your vows. Now, you can be not married and still have made sort of vows to each other. You've made promises to each other. And if you're in a long-term relationship, you're going to find that you're going to have to keep renewing them because everything keeps changing. And I've always maintained that some people have 5 relationships in their life and 1 relationship, and some people have 1 relationship, but there's like 5 or 6 relationships within that relationship. It has to keep reinventing to survive. That's the actual truth of it, because it's really hard to keep everything going when everything else is happening to you. So it's a good idea every so many years, or whenever the time comes and you feel like things are falling into the hole a little bit, to renew your promises that you made to each other, and to have the big talk about where your future is, and is there anything that I'm doing that's aggravating you, and is there anything that I'm doing that makes you happy that I should do more of, and how can I nourish you more. These kind of conversations are very validating, and they're like putting energy into your relationship again, because the energy is so taken with work and children if you have them, and then families, and then upkeep of houses, and then trying to look after yourself and trying to look after your partner and anyone who comes with your partner, and dogs and cats. Therefore, it's really important that you renew it, that you make a conscious effort to stop and go, you know what, let's just sit down and debrief and talk honestly to each other in a non-threatening way, in a safe way, and say, how's it going for you? And then the other person, how's it going for you? And how's this part? I've written a whole book called The Buckets of Love, and I've posted it on SoundCloud and YouTube under Real Relationships, and you might find that really interesting, because you can go through each bucket and just say, is the fun bucket working? How's the work bucket going? How's the family bucket going? How's the spiritual bucket going, or the faith bucket going? And you go through each one, and then by going through each one you can find out where you need to top up and where it's okay. This is the way to ensure that your love can survive, because love is a precarious thing. It's a strong emotion and a strong thing, but it's also precarious. And because it's so precarious, you really need to be thinking of how you're going to make sure that the love lasts, because that's what you want it to do. You don't want it to get lost between the laundry and the kids and work. And it really can. Also, by doing this, you are less likely to be looking outside the marriage, because what you're doing is you're looking inside the marriage or the partnership. And this stops you from looking out as much to get your needs met. It's about talking to your partner about, am I meeting all these needs of yours? Are you meeting all my needs? What can we both do to improve it? Do we need to have more time together? Do we need to work together more on the problems we've got, say with the children or work or family? Do we need to get help with that? Do we need to go to some counselling and just get some things ironed out? It's almost like preventative medicine, but it's for your love relationship. And I think it's a really good idea to stop. If you can go away and be on your own for even 24 hours, if you've got kids, if you can get somebody to mind them on one night, and you drop them off at 2 o'clock and run off to the motel or hotel, wherever you want to go, or even go home, and then you pick them up the next morning at 12 or something. Most people can accommodate that. Even friends can sometimes have your little ones or your big ones over for that time. And then you have some pure time just together, and try to make it romantic. If you love the spa, go to the spa. If you love to go out for dinner, go out for dinner, walk along the beach. Whatever works for your relationship, do that. It's insurance. Renewing your promises is insurance, and it stops everything from floating away, and then before you know it, you can't pull it all back, because people don't talk to each other enough, I don't think, about what they need, and be honest. And also, I ask that big question, are you still happy in the relationship? This is the biggest question you can ask somebody. Are you still happy in this relationship? Is this still what you want to do? Rather than assume, because I think assumption is where it all goes wrong. The one person might be really happy in it, and the other person's falling apart, and they're not that happy, and they're not feeling so in love, but they don't know what to do about it. But if you ask them that question and they were totally honest, then you can find out that maybe they're not so happy, why they're not so happy, and what you can do, both of you and you alone, to make them more happy. Because that's what it is. If a person's happy in the relationship, everything else flows out from there. And that's your first relationship you've got now, that's your most important priority. And you need to keep that in mind even when you have children, because those children, by the time they're teenagers, won't want to even be seen with you. They'll make you drop them off around the corner rather than at the front of the house, and they want to be in their room most of the time, and then they go out. So you don't even have that choice then. You might as well invest in your relationship, because the kids are going to leave home. And even if they don't literally leave home, they leave home emotionally, and they create their own life, which is healthy and natural. Don't put your children as first priority. Put your relationship as first priority, and the children have a very special place of their own. They shouldn't have to compete with relationship. They're like a singular unit that you have with them, which is autonomous and separate from the relationship you have with your partner. But don't make them into a hierarchy when they're more important than the partner. Some people do that, and I think it's fraught with danger. Don't think it's a good idea. But getting back to the promises, so work out what you both said you would be doing for one another and how you're doing that now. If you had someone who said they were going to help you in the house and they're not helping in the house, that's an area you need to go to, because that will build resentment. If you had somebody who said that they really loved having a physical relationship with you, but now they keep putting you off and saying they're tired or they've got a headache, that's the place you need to go. And these are the buckets I was talking about, these different buckets of love that when they become unnourished, they become problems. But we can fix them. We can fix them, because all it needs is attention and honesty. And during this time, if you're going to do the renewing of the vows, do them with the intention that we're renewing them, but we're also in our minds and the promises, but we're also looking at where the problems are, and we're going to try and fix them. It's no good running off and renewing them, and we'll just renew it and say it all when you still won't help with the housework, or you still are reticent in the bedroom. You can't play that card, because they're the things that you need to fix up. Renewing also means fixing up, and that's what I'm talking about now, that you need to fix up the bits that aren't working. It's quite hard to be dishonest, and your partner or you might struggle to do this, but it's like investing in your future. Because if you really say, look, I'm really unhappy with the way things are going with the kids, or I'm really unhappy with how we're doing the money, I don't like it, how we're doing it now, and I really have some concerns about the money. If that person can actually say that to you, and you can both sit down and then work out how to do a better way with works for both of you, that's renewing your promise and your vow to each other. Because in a sense, you promise that you would be there for that other person, that they would be the love of your life, and you will do everything to make it work for them and meet their needs, and they did likewise. But if you're not going to do that or be prepared to do that anymore, are you really renewing the vows? Or maybe it's just all words, froth and bubble, you call it just froth and bubble. You don't want it to be like that. You want people to be able to be really honest and truthful. So this is the time for the kind truth, not the mean truth, the kind truth. And if you have to talk to your partner about some area and it's a bit touchy, do it really kindly and talk about how you could make that better. Put the problem out there on the table rather than make them the problem, and you'll find that a lot easier to do. I think it's a really wonderful thing to renew the vows. I really think it is, because it's like the start of the next part of your relationship. So even if you've been together for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years, you can still renew it, and you can do your own little ceremony if you want to. If you really feel that you want to, you can actually literally do it. Some people actually have another ceremony, invite their friends, and they just do it again. But there's no point doing it and then taking all the rubbish in. You've got to clean up the rubbish and then clean that up and then start the new relationship. This is how I believe people stay together, and particularly the couples who are happy. And it's only once the promises that they made to each other are starting to be broken that they start to have problems, and that's where you'll see in most relationship then the next part of the relationship's not working because the promises are being broken. And you can fix those if you want to, and I think it's a really, really good idea. Some of them will be little things, some of them will be large things. You're the only one who knows which ones they are in your relationship, but I tackle the ones that are the priority first. And if you need help go to a counsellor, go to a psychologist. I keep saying that. Go to your doctor. I think it's really important to get that other view, because when you're in it, you've got your own agenda, you've got your own thoughts about it, you've got your own feelings about it, and so is your partner. But if you get a third person, they will actually shine a light on some of the things where it is problematic that maybe you're not looking at or your partner's not looking at, and then that gives you more insight. Go and renew your vows, go and renew all the promises, restart your relationship, start a new section of it, a new round of it, but make sure that in doing that you do some assessment and you sit down and honestly talk to each other about any areas that you think you need to fix up. It's really, really important. Or any areas that you think are being ignored, that you're not actually doing anymore. So maybe you're not dating anymore, going out on a date, or maybe we're not spending quality time together, or maybe you're not spending enough time away from work and just doing like lovely social leisure things together, or going away. Maybe you don't go away enough. You used to go away before, but now you don't. So you need to put those things and inject it. This is like a love injection, shall we say, into your relationship, and I think it's worth it, because I think if you found love, you're very lucky, and you should work at keeping that love and don't let other things destroy it. Okay, so I'm sending you lots of love and healing, and I hope you renew your vows.